Hey everyone, Flutes and Shard here. Today we are taking a crack at the Purple Dragon Knight, or setting agnostic version, the Banneret. It's a fighter subclass from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. It has been well known for being an underwhelming subclass. It's notorious for it, but we think it has potential and we want to rework it to make it a subclass that you think, oh, I do want to choose that compared to all the newer subclasses that are so cool. Let's see if we can make the Purple Dragon Knight cooler.
My name's Tim, my channel's called Shard. Flutes and I have collaborated a few times now on reworks for some of the subclasses. The Purple Dragon Knight has one of the coolest names, I think, for any subclass in the game, but I think that's the best thing about it. And so looking forward to seeing if we can improve it.
If this is your first time seeing me too, I'm Flutes, aka Jordan with Flutes Loot. I like doing pretty much anything with D&D, and I like flexing my amateur game designer brain sort of thing. Tim and I both share that hobby. Let's see what we come up with today. My goals: I want to share and enhance core fighter resources to bolster the whole party's action economy and their effectiveness. I also want to keep the Banneret's existing mechanics and build on them. That's what I do with all revisions. I don't like just throwing out everything and starting over. I like to focus on what's already there. I think Tim likes to do the same. I want this to feel like a commander and a support on the battlefield while not like sacrificing its own effectiveness. I don't want to bog down anyone's action economy. I don't want this to be multi-class bait. So people just dip into it for a few levels and then they got the best of it and then they're done. I want it to be something that they look forward to all its levels. With that, I want it to be enticing so that it can compete with other subclasses for your interest as a player. And then I want to realize the character fantasy by level 7 based on the scaffolding of what a typical fighter looks like. I used the original wording of all these abilities and then I crossed out anything I took out, crossed it out and graded it out, and then anything I added or changed, I put it in green. So first, Rallying Cry is an ability where you use Second Wind to also heal your allies. And this was all the Banneret gets at level 3 by the book, and to me that was very boring. So I said, okay, let's first of all just clean up some of the wording that I didn't like and make the healing a little better, make the range more dynamic, and make it so the healing is bolstered and can give you temporary hit points. It's still up to 3 allied creatures. I'm debating whether to make it like proficiency bonus allied creatures so you can do more later. And then I changed it from 60 feet range to just anyone who can see or hear you, because I figure Rallying Cry, if they can see you or hear you, it doesn't matter how far away they are. They regain hit points still equal to your fighter level plus your proficiency bonus is what I added. The proficiency bonus there just to bolster it a little bit, because at level 3 that would have only been 3 points of healing, so let's at least get 2 more in there and then it scales a little bit better. And then I added this part, which is not my original idea, but I've really loved it from people like Terran and Destructo Boy from some of his stuff. I don't remember if he got it from somewhere else, but when you regain hit points from Second Wind, that would exceed your hit point maximum, or a creature regains hit points from Rallying Cry, this feature where you heal others when you Second Wind, that would exceed its hit point maximum. The remainder can become temporary hit points. So if you need to heal yourself, but your allies are all looking good, you can still give them temporary hit points, even if they didn't have room for the healing. Same with yourself. If you have Second Wind and you're like having that debate in your mind, as fighters sometimes do, of like, do I use Second Wind? I might roll really high on the die and then I have a bunch of leftovers that I wasted. Do I take another hit before I use it? That sort of thing. Now you don't have to have that debate. If you roll well on your Second Wind D10 plus your fighter level, I think it is, then you'll still get temporary hit points on top of that to top you off. And then I also took the feature Royal Envoy, which is usually at 7th level, and the way it was written, it gave you proficiency in Persuasion and allowed you to have expertise in it, so ×2 proficiency bonus. And if you already had that, you could switch to another thing, but you still got expertise in Persuasion. I changed it to kind of be like the Samurai, but instead of it being a 7th level feature, made it 3rd level, so we don't have to wait till 7th level just to get a proficiency and 1 expertise. That felt really bad, and give you some options now. So it's now you choose Insight, Performance, Intimidation, or Persuasion. You could also choose a language of your choice. I decided to not go for expertise on this because I feel like this was just kind of like a ribbon feature to give 1 more proficiency, and like I think that's good. I do enjoy keeping expertise a little more rare in the game. I feel like it's becoming more and more common, which can delude how cool it feels to be a rogue for me, and I love rogues. I tend to be very selective in what I give expertise, and that's just my preference. So Tim, what does your level 3 look like for your revision?
Okay, so this is my Purple Dragon Knight rework. My overall design philosophy was very similar to yours. I wanted to try and stay quite close to the original concept, but I quite like this idea of having a leader, sort of charisma-based fighter. I don't think that's particularly well represented within the fighter archetypes. I think the Battle Master gets a couple of features that can help you to be more of a leader. But I felt that would be kind of like a niche for the Purple Dragon Knight. So I deliberately sort of built onto that one. And just like you, I've pulled the the Royal Envoy ability up to 3rd level, from 7th level up to 3rd level. So it was very similar. I think my approach to this was quite similar. I reworked the existing rallying cry, and so now it works based on your charisma bonus, and so a similar effect to the way it was before. But now, when one of your allies receives your rallying cry, then they regain the hit points equal to your fighter level, providing they can see or hear you. And if they're able to move, then each one can also choose to immediately move up to 10 feet horizontally, and this movement will not provoke opportunity attacks. So it's rallying your colleagues to be able to strategically move on the battlefield. And then I decided that, linking it to second wind was a bit limiting. And so I said we can link this to your charisma bonus. So you get a minimum of once if you don't have a very good charisma. And then you regain all uses on a long rest. And then you can also use it with your second wind, which is a short rest recharging resource. And if you use it with your second wind, you can include yourself as one of the targets for the rallying cry. So that's how I reworked that one. And then I just basically moved the Royal Envoy to 3rd level. So I left it, I think, as it was before, exactly as it was before. And I've left in the expertise in persuasion, just because I've built in a couple of other charisma-based features a bit later. And so I felt that, this is kind of tripling down on a fighter with high charisma.
That's great. I had a similar debate when I was doing this of do I want to use charisma? I'm glad that you did, so that we get different points of view. But I also like your idea of making it its own bonus action with its different resource economy, not tied to second wind, but also keeping that second wind synergy on top of that. That's smart.
Yeah, I quite liked your idea with the temporary hit points as well. Because then I think, if you've only got 2 allies who need healing within 60 feet, you're not wasting a third of your ability. So I really quite like that idea. I like that, being able to top up somebody else with temporary hit points.
And another thing that I like that you did is you pointed out that the Battle Master already has some commandery type battle maneuvers. So it makes sense to think, okay, well, we got to kind of look at what the Battle Master can do and say, all right, why would someone play this commander archetype and not just be a Battle Master? And that's a really good point for this design philosophy. Just wanted to point
that came out in the article that you recently put up on Flute Salute that I wrote for the Purple Dragon Knight. That was basically my conclusion, is that you could play a Battle Master and wear an outfit with a purple dragon on it, and you'll be a much better Purple Dragon Knight. And so
right.
Yeah, so that was also what I was trying to do with this, is to find ways to give it its own uniqueness that the Battle Master can't do. I kept Inspiring Surge, which was at a higher level originally, and I pulled everything basically up by 3 levels, 4 levels, whatever it is. So this was 10th level, I think, originally. It's now 7th level. I've linked this. Originally, it was only linked to the Action Surge feature. So what I've chosen to do is actually link it to the Rallying Cry feature that we've just been talking about, or the Action Surge feature. And so within the Rallying Cry, or if you do an Action Surge, you can choose one of the creatures within 60 feet that's allied with you, and then they get to make 1 melee or ranged attack with its reaction, and they add your charisma bonus to the damage roll, providing they can see or hear you. And then at 15th level, that goes to 2 allies within 60 feet of you rather than 1. So again, it's giving you more uses of your feature. So it's not just when you Action Surge. You're, again, getting an additional use for your charisma bonus here. So you're bumping your allies' damage a little bit by having high charisma.
I really like adding the charisma bonus to their damage. That just feels good. It's just kind of like icing on the cake. So even if your charisma bonus isn't super high, even just getting a +2, you got them an extra attack. That's the main thing. And then just adding on more damage, it just feels good.
I think that's the inspiration part of it, right? So they're feeling inspired by you, and therefore doing a bit more damage on the battlefield. So I quite like that as well. I quite like being able to, so it's not helping your own your own damage output, but it's certainly helping the party as a whole. So, which I think is, I think it's one of the themes, I think, for me with the Purple Dragon Knight, is it's the fighter that's helping everybody else. And fighters get so many ASIs anyway. I think you've got scope to have a high charisma fighter, as well as have your own dexterity or strength pretty high as well.
Yeah, that's a good note too. For those who don't know, fighters get ability score improvements more than other characters. They get 7, whereas everyone else gets 5. Rogues get 6. So fighters get the most with 7. I, like you, moved Inspiring Surge to 7th level, because to me this is where the subclass gets really exciting. I took a little bit of a different angle. I wanted to make it a little stronger, not necessarily more often. I cleaned up some of the wording, and then I said instead of the allied person using their reaction to make an attack. I wanted it to feel like they were getting your action surge with you. So I said that creature can take one extra turn immediately following the end of your current turn. During this extra turn, the creature can only use one action, no movement, bonus action, or reaction. If the creature had used its reaction, it recharges at the start of its extra turn as usual. I'm giving an action, like an actual action to them, instead of them using their reaction. The last part about them getting their reaction back is, for those who don't know, usually when you use your reaction in combat, it recharges that you can use it again at the start of your next turn. So I'm just clarifying that this extra turn does count as a turn. It's just a limited turn, and so it will recharge your reaction. So effectively, they might be able to get 2 reactions in a round coupled with this, and then they get an extra action as well. And so I wanted this to be opened up to, like, if you're a spellcaster, you can get another spell off in the round. If you're another martial class with extra attack, then you can get extra attack. So it's not just 1 attack, you can get 2 or more attacks based on whatever you have your action. And so I thought this was just a cool way to help out everyone in the party regardless of whether they make attacks or not, because I thought to myself, man, what if you're the purple dragon knight or the banneret in a party where people are mostly spellcasters and they can't really make great attacks because they're staying back, they don't have a sling drawn or anything. Making an attack isn't the same as making casting a spell that involves a spell attack, like a cantrip would. And so I thought this would be a cool way to work with anyone in the party and really inspire them and get them working quickly. And yeah, that's what I came up with. And so I guess the difference is you kind of kept to the reaction method, and I was like, let's give them like another action, kind of an extra turn sort of. But yours can be used more often, and it plays into that charisma build option. Well, this is just kind of like whatever action surge you have is what you get. So yeah, what do you think about this version?
Yeah, I think the one thing I'm not sure about is the wording. So
Sure.
If the creature that you've targeted is another fighter, because they're getting an extra turn, but could they action surge?
Yeah, if they have action surge, okay, I see what you're saying. Because action surge, there's no action economy to that. You just choose to do it, right?
That's right. And you could be going to do it on your own turn, but then you've just given them a new turn, and so that was why I was wondering. I mean, that might be a fun part of the feature.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, if you are action surging and then giving your fighter another go to use an action surge as well, your fighter buddy.
Yeah,
interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I think I would be okay with that because they're still burning resources. But you're right, I do need to clean up the wording because I tried to make it be like you can only do an action, but there are some things that don't require movement, bonus action, or reaction. I got to figure out how to word it to be like this is a limited extra turn where you can only do certain things and figure out what I'm okay with. I'll have to clean that up.
I mean, generally speaking, I actually have an issue with action surge because it doesn't specify what kind of actions that you can take. Because I think this is one of the reasons why a 2-level fighter dip is so popular. You can cast spells with it, so you can as a wizard you can then be casting 2 spells a turn. I actually think it would probably be more balanced if action surge limited what you could do and said you can use this extra action to do one of the physical things that you would expect a fighter to be able to do, so to sort of dash, disengage, or make an attack, doing an attack action. But that's just another suggestion I've had in the past about potentially reducing the power of action surge just to keep it a little bit more under control, because it really is a very popular, very powerful 2-level dip, is to pick up action surge. A lot of people do it just for that.
I'm on record of having said the same thing of like there was like some stream, I think it was a DM roundtable once, and it was like, what would you change? And I was like, it was just the flavor of the week, it was on my mind, and I was like, I'd make it so action surge doesn't allow you to make 2 spells in a turn, because it seems like we're just confusing everyone. I feel like I'm always correcting people about like the bonus action spell casting rules and then the action surge spell casting rules, and I'm like, it's all just a mess. So I was like, let's just get rid of it and make everyone understand it. So I'm on record being with you basically. And you know what else that would open us up to is the Eldritch Knight fighter. You could give it an ability where it says when you use action surge, you can cast a spell with that action, because that would make the Eldritch Knight a little cooler.
It would. Although people would be dipping into 3 levels of fighter to get Eldritch Knight.
I feel like 3 is a higher price to pay, so I think I'd be okay with that, or make it a higher level thing for the Eldritch Knight. But I guess we're not doing the Eldritch Knight today.
When they get to like 6th or 7th level, they could maybe activate it. Something.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think so as well.
So my next one at level 10, I made a new feature here. I kept Bulwark at level 15 later, so I made a new one at level 10. Tireless Elegance, level 10. When you roll initiative and have no uses of Indomitable remaining, you regain 1 use. You regain all uses of Indomitable when you finish a short rest. So this is one I didn't give too much thought, but I was just like, okay, I really want to keep playing with the economy of the fighter as it is, and I want to play with this a little bit later when I get down here. And so I thought, okay, when you roll initiative, you're indomitable. Like, you battle after battle, you need to be the commander, and you need to not be missing saving throws, you need to be the one staying up. And so I thought it'd be cool to just give them a 10th level like Indomitable recharge right after they got Indomitable at level 9. As they progress, they do get more uses of Indomitable, so I thought it'd be cool to say you get them all back when you short rest, which I think is going to be really useful for this type of character. It's a good defensive feature because this is the first defensive feature I've given it in this revision, and so I thought this was a good time to give them something like that.
I decided to actually promote Bulwark from 15th level up to 10th level. I didn't think it was a massively impactful feature, and the way it was written. And I also felt that the way it is currently written was somewhat clunky, because you were only able to use it if both you and the target had failed the same saving throw. That's probably not going to happen. That might happen with a nasty AoE effect or spell, but otherwise it's not really going to come up that much. So what I thought we could do is to decouple it from that. I just doubled up the uses of the Indomitable feature. So I just decided that this fighter was going to get twice as many as everybody else. And you can choose to benefit any ally who failed a saving throw, as long as you aren't incapacitated and your ally can see or hear you. And then if you both failed the same saving throw, then you can both reroll. But the idea is that if you just see one of your allies who failed a save, then you can just you can get them to re-roll it. And then anybody who makes the re-roll will receive the benefits of half cover until the start of their next turn, whether they succeeded on the saving throw or not. Even if somebody fails the save, you're basically giving them this bulwark, this half cover until the start of their next turn. So you're hoping to protect them. So if they have failed a save on something nasty like poisoned or frightened or whatever, paralyzed, then they're actually being protected by you until the next round.
That's really cool. I like that you identified a friction, right? Because Indomitable with Bulwark could only work if both of you had to make the same saving throw, which can happen, like you said, but when it doesn't, Bulwark just couldn't do anything. So you made it so, yeah, we'll still keep that where like you have double the effectiveness of you both get to reroll if that comes up, but you also made it so you could just use Indomitable to help someone else reroll, and to kind of offset that you could be using it more often, you double the uses. Very elegant change there, I think. Adding in the half cover afterwards, like they gain new resolve afterwards, I think that's pretty cool. I like that.
I deliberately went for half cover because it's got a little bit more impact than just like a boost to AC. At 15th level, I've got Inspiring Barrage. Starting from 15th level, you choose 2 allies within 60 feet of you rather than 1 to benefit from your Inspiring Surge feature. So we're doubling up the uses of that. And then you gain proficiency in Charisma saving throws. So if you already have this proficiency, you can gain proficiency in Wisdom or Intelligence saving throws instead. So I'm again just sort of tripling down on the Charisma theme. Charisma saving throws don't come up all that often, but if you do happen to be multi-classing and you would like to pick up Charisma saving throws or you already have them, this would be a nice little fillet on that as well. I think the Samurai has something like this, right, where they gain an extra
yes.
saving throw proficiency.
How would you feel about moving to be like the Samurai and put this just the saving throw proficiency? What would you feel about moving that to your level 7?
I think that would work out as well. It's not a massively impactful ability, but I think Charisma saves, they don't come up that often. And you've also got Indomitable, of course, to help you with those, and probably a high Charisma. But if you fail one, it can usually be pretty nasty. I might as well finish off with my 18th level feature as well, because it's a one-liner. So at 18th level, I decided to upgrade the Bulwark feature. And so any creature benefiting from half cover from your Bulwark feature now also gains resistance to all damage until the start of their next turn. And so I gave them half cover, whether or not they managed to succeed on the saving throw or not. And now they're also going to gain resistance to damage on top of that as well.
So with Bulwark giving half cover, regardless whether they save or not, if they become incapacitated, would they still have the benefit of half cover?
I think my intention would be yes. It's a protective feature, so it's got nothing to do with how well they're doing. I think it's, my idea would be that the inspirational nature of this fighter would help to protect people, whether or not they're able to protect themselves.
Bulwark, I kept it at level 15, and I did not change it, but maybe I should. Based on yours, like I think it would just be an elegant change to it to just make it so you can use it on an ally. Even doubling how often you can use it, like I like that. I kept it the same because I was like, I think this is fine based on what the other stuff I'm doing, but I really like what you did too. I gave Press the Attack at 18th level. There technically was a capstone for the Purple Dragon Knight, but it didn't have a 18th level feature. They just had the Inspiring Surge become able to target 2 allies instead of 1 at 18th level, and that's like all they got, but it was technically part of the the Inspiring Surge. Basically, it is the same. You can target 2 instead of 1, but I also said when you use Inspiring Surge or Bulwark. Keep in mind that I changed Inspiring Surge to be an extra turn, essentially, even though you only can use one action, targeting 2 allies with that, and now at this level of fighter, you can use Action Surge twice per short rest, so you could potentially just be boosting your party's action economy by 4 actions, so it's pretty strong. Bulwark, so when you use Bulwark, if you and 1 ally are making the same saving throw and you fail, but now it's like, okay, now if you and 2 other allies, I just opened it up to also make Bulwark better. Having seen your revision, Tim, I think the 15 and 18 are the weakest parts of my revision, and I'm definitely gonna merge some of your ideas into here, because I think they make this a more substantial subclass at higher levels. And like I said, part of my design goal is to make it so you want to play it all the way to 20th level, or at least to 18th level for the subclass.
As we discussed before, the Bulwark, I just think the mechanic of that is a bit clunky, and so I think we've agreed that it's nice to be able to hand it out. That fits the theme of our inspiring leader. I'm still thinking back to your 7th level feature. I was just trying to figure out what would happen for a rogue. So if your rogue had gone early in the round and got off their sneak attack and potentially used up their reaction on another sneak attack, right? Because you can also get a sneak attack once per turn. Yeah, so you can end up with a rogue getting 4 sneak attacks in a single.
You're the rogue's best friend.
So you can't do this yourself, can you? This is unless you choose yourself. Can you choose yourself with this feature?
You know what? The way I worded it, yes, you could choose yourself. I just realized that's definitely not. That's not the intent. So let me fix that up. There we go.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the idea of being able to give the rogues some extra sneak attacks. I'm not sure about the balance of giving them 4 in one round, but then I guess, you're only getting 1 or maximum 2 action surges per short rest, right? You're going Nova with your action surge, and the rogue's going Nova in the same round.
Yeah, and like the Purple Dragon Knight, in and of itself, it doesn't have any ways to like boost its damage more than any other fighter. You're about making the team Nova. Like, that's your Nova, is making the team use their abilities. Someone like the Rogue, who just doesn't have a resource to tap other than their action economy, like, they love it, right? It's their once per turn for sneak attack and all that stuff. Paladins who want to smite more, like, yeah, go ahead, but they're burning a resource, so the Rogue just sticks out as, like, a really good one. I love Rogues, and people often talk recently about them being, like, one of the bottom 3 classes of, like, effectiveness and DPR and all that stuff, and I'm like, I still love them. This requires setup, teamwork, planning, timing, all that stuff, and so I like that about it.
And until quite a high level fighter, or high level play, this is like once per short rest you can do this, where you get 1 action surge. I like it. I quite like the idea. It might be a little powerful at 7th level. I don't know. I think it would be fun as well. Like you say, it's not like either of us have really given a lot of extra damage to the Purple Dragon Knight themselves. It's more about the teamwork.
There will be an article posted for this video to accompany it, and so we'll have our joint revision of the Purple Dragon Knight. I'll kind of combine some of our ideas, just like some of our other ones. We've also done, let's see, you and I did the Champion together.
Did the Battle Rager and Barbarian as well?
The Battle Rager. We're giving the martial classes a little bit of love, some of these lesser used subclasses, so check those out as well.
Quite a lot of fun, working around the existing mechanics for this one.
Don't forget to also go over to Shard's channel, give him a subscribe. He does a lot of deep dives into different subclasses and like really picking them apart for what you can do with them, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and what are some interesting interactions. And don't forget to subscribe to Flutes Loot, my channel, if you are new here. I've also done the Transmuter Wizard and the Assassin Rogue and Berserker Barbarian. Thanks again for joining us. We hope you have a good adventure this weekend, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.